president of the African Export Import Bank, the Afri-Exim Bank. This was, you pretty much almost a unanimous decision by their shareholders in Cairo. Of course, it was a virtual thing because of COVID-19. They couldn't all meet. So he's been reappointed for another 5-year term. In the first 5 years that he's been in office, from 2015 through to 2019. Actually, in fact, it's Dr. Benedict Oraman, man has a PhD. Between 2015 and 2019, Afri-Exim Bank, they disbursed about 30 and promotion of intra-African trade. So he released a statement. I think the man is completely focused on the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. He says, we want an Africa where the foundations of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement are laid expeditiously so that the 84,000 kilometers of borders that have divided us for ages can begin to come down. Also talks about driving the industrialization of Africa. I was looking at some of our trade numbers according to the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, and this is for a period of 2015 through 2017 though. So total trade from Africa through to the world was worth $760 billion, again, between 2015 and 2017. For the Oceania region, it was 481 billion. For Europe, 4.1 trillion. Of course, it's expected. America, 5.1 trillion. Asia, 6.8 trillion. Now, the share of exports from Africa to the rest of the world was between 80 to 90%. So it shows you how export dependent. This is between 2000 and 2017, how exports dependent Africa is. Now, intra-African exports, intra-African, were just made up about 16% of total exports in 2017. For Europe, intra-European trade exports, rather, it was 68% of total exports in 2017. So within them, 68% doing, intra-European trade. For Asia, it was 59%, America 55%, Oceania 7%. I think they threw in Oceania there just to make us look good because they're the only ones. They're the only ones that are doing better than. So intra-African trade has to increase, and then intra-African trade is the average of total imports exports for intra-African trade is only 2% between 2015 to 2017. For the other regions, much larger. America 47%, Asia 61%, Europe 67%, Oceania 7%. So there definitely is a case to be made for us to boost trade. Now, the thing is, though, in order to boost trade, you have to have infrastructure, right? I think of it like this: if in your home, or your office, think of your office on a street where there are other homes and other offices. I don't know, maybe you sell ice cream, right? And you want to boost your trade between you and all your neighbors, and you want to maybe sell to another neighborhood across town. If you sell ice cream, your infrastructure within your own building has to be up to snuff. You have to have the freezers that's going to freeze the ice cream. You got to have power to power the freezers. So think of it like that. So for us to boost trade, within Africa and then within around the world, our infrastructure has to be up to snuff. The IMF, they released a new report, and they said they want us to, by 2030, to be spending 18% of our GDP on infrastructure. And that's a lot of money. And by the way, 2030 is not far. I remember years ago, if you told me 2030, you'd be like, that's just 10 years from now, man. Or 9, if you want exactly. You want to count
just throw this way year.
Yeah, exactly. So throw 2020 is a forgotten year. So they want us. So if you put those figures into perspective, Nigeria is roughly a $450 billion economy. 18% of that is $81 billion. I mean, where are we going to find $81 billion to spend on just infrastructure? Our entire budget of 10.58 trillion naira or so, that's depending on the exchange rate you use, that's roughly 30 billion. That's less than half, right, of what the IMF is proposing that we spend on infrastructure, at least by 2030. Our entire budget doesn't even meet up to that. And even the 30 billion that we have, we're having trouble funding the entire thing. We have to now go and start borrowing and so on and so forth. So, this is where everything is. It has to tie to the amount of spending that we all want to put towards infrastructure, and we're trying. But the thing is that we've got the Sukuk bonds that are supposed to support infrastructure. We've got We've got the minister of the Ministry of Power Works, well, they've separated them now as Works and Housing, and then you've got Power. But these institutions are doing the best that they can, but the spending has to increase. But anyway, congratulations to Dr. Omar, and it's again also, by the way, Auntie Ngozi, I call her Auntie Ngozi. She's not my auntie, but Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, of course, has been nominated to head the World Trade Organization. That if she gets that one, that's big. That's big. I mean, she's already big already.
Yes,
You know.
that's bigger.
Yes, that's massive. Of course, if oh gosh, if Trump gets reelected, which I'm sorry, I'm saying this on public radio. I hope not. But if he does, that puts them, at loggerheads because he's had all these issues, threatening to withdraw from WTO, talking about all this is bilateral trade deals and so on. But look, it's Nigerians are heading some big institutions. Despite all the headaches that we're facing around the country, our folks are doing well.
And MI from Akoka says, great news to start a wet Wednesday. So are we really adhering to the terms of the ACFTA?
Yeah.
And especially with the border closure, even before Coro? We
Yeah,
need to identify
that's-
new comparative advantages if we want to trade competitively on the continent. Infrastructure deficit again. The chicken has indeed come home to
It
roost.
has, and yeah, we signed on, but again, if you, as Emma has pointed out, if you look at the border closures, that's not really in compliance but then Nigeria will tell you that it's because of smuggling that they've closed those borders down. Yeah.
It's all right. So Tunuga says the trade statistics stated are the documented. What of the undocumented trades that go on daily? However, I agree that we can do better among ourselves in Africa.
We can, and think about it. If you're selling to your own neighborhood, right? So we really have to boost African trade again. And we went over the stats that the Bureau of Statistics released, our Q1 trade statistics. We're in a trade deficit. We've imported more than we've exported.
Yeah.
And again, 10 countries, only South Africa and Cameroon were there. The rest are India, Spain, Holland, the US, UK. We need to trade more within our own region.
And Ishaka says from Abutameta, good morning, guys. What's the updates on the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreements? Trade should be facilitated among African countries. Which
Yeah.
is what he just
Right, exactly. Yes, it's COVID now. COVID-19 delayed the kickoff, which I believe is supposed to be July. It was supposed to kick off 1st of July, but they've pushed it back because of all the other issues. This thing it was really really bad. We're already just barely able to get enough funds to do what it is we need to do. Now this has now come to distract us and destabilize the plans that we had. But hopefully, I think they're saying, I think this is September or early 2021 is when they're going to look at kicking things off with regards to trade. But we have to boost our trade. But again, I want everybody to please keep this in mind. All the talk of African Continental Free Trade Agreement, all the trade talk, in order to boost your trade, you must boost your infrastructure, right? Because it's everybody within Africa that is selling something or producing something. All we're doing is saying extend the selling and production of those things to other countries outside. And in order to do that, they have to be able to produce more and they have to be more efficient at what they produce. And to do that, they need the usual, the power, the roads, the logistics, the supply chain, all that stuff. So it still comes down to us and developing those things.
All right, MI adds, it says the politics of African trade is another challenge we must deal with. We're sharply divided into Francophone and Anglophone countries.
Yes.
The former colonial nations meddling isn't helping
Very,
either.
very true. The folks that use the CFA franc and they of course they like the support they're getting from France though because I think they're pegged to the euro, so they've got they've got some stability there. No currency shocks. So I don't know if they want to end that. There's also the issue, of course, as a very good point, because to facilitate trade, you want to use the same currency. There's a whole issue with the echo. I don't know if that echo thing will ever take off. So yeah, we got a number of things we still have to work out. But at least let's start trading, Sha. Let's at least get the trade off the ground. But again, please, if you take anything from this program today, it is that our infrastructure has to be vastly improved before we can now hope to increase things. Power, I think Valentine, you mentioned this during your news brief that they are going to take off they're going to take off with the tariff increases as from July. It was supposed to happen April 1st, but then as we all know, this this dreaded nasty virus called China. They said there's another resurgence of cases again. Look, this is something we're going to just live with.
Yeah.
for the rest of our
Because
lives. It's
whether I like it or not, it has entered community spread
yeah.
here in Nigeria,
Hmm.
in Lagos.
They stopped. The churches are no longer opening again.
Nope.
Lagos State has reversed that. Anyway,
Lagos.
so again back to power. So the power tariffs were supposed to take place. The increase in power tariffs rather were supposed to happen April 1st. They were then delayed. They were suspended because they wanted to give Nigerians a break. And it's such a, again, as was it Emma who said that or who sent that message? It's such a tough time for this to happen because the Senate was just blasting the government, which I thought was funny since they're all APC. But the Senate was blasting the government 2 days ago. They had I think they invited folks from the power sector to deliberate on how much has been spent, and they said it was like 4.4 trillion naira over the last 20 years has been injected into the power sector. Within the last 5 years, just 1.7 trillion naira. What do we have to show for it? So of course there are liquidity issues in the power sector. We all know what the issues are, the metering and so on. So they were trying to raise the tariffs. They're like, okay, let's help the discos increase the tariffs, and they get more liquidity in their hands, and then boom, COVID-19 happens. The government had to say, okay, let's take it easy on Nigeria, let's suspend the increase of the tariffs. Anyway, so it was a horrible time for it to happen. Anyway, now they're saying, oh yeah, July 1st they're taking off with the tariffs, and but even then the increases are not as high as they should be. But then I trust Yinka and other folks to come and say, what are you talking about? Am I getting power? Why are you increasing tariffs? And then there's the whole issue of the meters. There's now levies on meters again for importing them because the government wants to do import substitution and make more local players produce more meters. But at this particular time, can you afford to be, putting levies on meters? Can you just want to just build as many meters as possible, so import them? There's so many issues. It's just tiring. My goodness.
See how you just summed up.
Yeah.
Summed up in really
Even me, I'm not even in government. I'm overwhelmed, man. I'm overwhelmed.
Ben says, good morning, guys. Talking about the ACFTA, has the fears concerning dumping of goods by foreigners into some African countries, has it been
Ben,
lifted up?
that's why they started closing borders. So Ben, good point. That's why they started closing the borders. There's that issue of dumping of goods. It's still there. We have a large market, so of course there'll be an attraction to do such a thing.
Benga Como says, we gather the government has gathered 1.3 trillion to save power sector from collapse. Will the money be properly used?
Benga, that's the question of the day.
Henry says, hi guys, instead of renovating the National Assembly building, why not fix the refineries and sell refined products to West Africa and the rest of Africa? We're living like market wide open for Dangote.
Henry, in fact, and again, as I talked about and analyzed their numbers here, the Kaduna refinery, I'm sorry. Henry, would you buy the Kaduna refinery? I don't know anybody that will. So there's also that issue as well.
GR 600 billion.
Yeah, exactly.
Henry Manuel says, the interesting thing about building infrastructure to support intra-regional trade is that the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa has a database of priority road, rail, electricity, gas pipeline projects across Africa, including the cost and how they get the funding for the projects. They went further to list countries who needed to work together to achieve some of the intra-regional projects. I do not understand how African countries have ignored such important resources.
Henry, excellent point. There are African countries, again, they've been exporting to the West. So for now, they're like, okay, they don't want to worry about intra-Africa trade, but because, America, India, China are buying so much stuff. But again, we have to focus on that.
All right. And Darlington from our papa says, can we increase the volume as regards your debt to income servicing ratio that is now 99 to 100? That is, for every 1 naira we make, we service our debt interest with 99 kobo. The principal has been paid for yet, or further depleting of our foreign exchange. Are we ever serious in this country? Thank you, Darlington.
Thank you, Darlington. Shout out to Nonso Bikili. He wrote that 3 week, June 3rd. I'll never forget the day. I talked about it on the show. 950 billion in income for Q1 2020. 940 billion servicing debts. Mad.
What is left one? And Frank says, what's going on with India and China?
Oh, there's some border issue. I haven't checked it out. There's some border scuffle. China is fighting everybody, but there's a border issue. I can't remember what it is. A trade thing that's going on between the two of them that they're fighting over now.
Ibrahim says, you said we all know what's going on in the power sector. We don't. The more we look and listen, the less we see and understand.
Ibrahim, good points. Those power assets, I don't know. That's privatization deal.
Yeah. Adamu says we need to also look at the ECOWAS trade protocols like the ETLS.
Yes, very true, Adamu. It's all encompassed within that because they are taking everybody within the African region. It is all part of that what the AFCT is planning to do. But ECOWAS is very important.
And sends in this one from Surulere. It says, please, when is the monetary union also coming into play?
You mean with regards to the currency? Dayo, is that what you're talking about? The echo, I don't know where it's going, or I don't think it's something
I
that
guess
they
so.
want to do as
Yeah.
of right now.
Rainmaker says, I have a developing gist about the 50 billion naira CBN.
Mm.
A friend called me yesterday to help provide clarity and make sense of an issue about the disbursement. So his friend applied for 500,000 naira at 5% a year of the CBN intervention fund.
Mm.
So he got an alert of 425,000 naira. He was surprised and has many questions. At Fora TL, did, okay, they did not even know they started paying them. I've given or
Advice, yeah.
Yeah, given advice is necessary. I'll keep Business Express updated and maybe some other people
Mm.
can come forward. So if this is what it is, then the loan is at 23.5%.
Yeah, if you deduct that amount
Exactly.
from the 500, that's heavy. Rainmaker, yeah, please give us or keep us
That's just
updated with
a
that
lot.
because there's supposed to be a moratorium on paying that thing for a full year. They're not supposed to pay it off at any period until then.
Well, MI says power must change hands in the electricity supply. The epileptic nature is terrible. Investors are scared because you want to price police them. I just hope there's light at the end.
Ah, that's a nice pun, MI.
Okay, right. Goke from UK says I'll buy the Kaduna refinery if it's offered for free. Cisco Delgado says,
Oh, gosh.
why is Nigeria deceiving herself? If Nigeria is serious about making her power sector stable, I do not know. I don't think it's a big deal. Anyway, Ibrahim has said it. We all know what's going on in the power sector.
Yeah, transparency. Thank you all for your messages.
Yeah.
Nigeria, we keep we push on.
Yes, we push
We
on.
push on, and we'll
Right.
keep monitoring how things are going. Thank you all for your messages. I appreciate it very much.
As how much we've got. Follow Rotas at Rotankot, ROTANKWOT. All right.
Sir.
Next at 7:30, we'll come forward with the news analysis for the day inside of Business Express 91. Stay with us.
Thank you, sir.
Bless you, G.
I'll be downstairs for a few minutes. Anybody coming in?
No.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, Devo.
The boy, okay.
Yes.
All right.